Book of Heaven, Volume 16. 8th to the 23rd April 1924. Page 121 to 126. April 8, 1924. The sleep of Luisa, after the tiredness and the sleep of Jesus. If Jesus sleeps, woe to the world, but for Luisa it is necessary in order not to succumb completely. The privations of my sweet Jesus continue, and I spend my days in a living purgatory. I feel like dying, and I do not die. I call him, I become delirious, but in vain. I feel a tragic scene going on in my interior, such that, if it could be seen externally, even the stones would be moved to pity and would melt down in tears. But, alas, no one is moved to pity for me, not even that very Jesus who used to say he loved me so much. But as I was at the peak of my sufferings, my beloved Jesus, my life, my all, moved in my interior, and forming a cradle with his arms, rocking me, said, "Rock-a-bye, my daughter, sleep in the arms of your Jesus. Rock-a-bye, my little one." And in seeing that after falling asleep I would wake up again, he repeated, "Rock-a-bye, my daughter." So, unable to resist, unwilling and crying, I fell into a deep sleep. Then, after hours and hours of sleep without being able to wake up, my sweet Jesus, holding me tightly, leaned on the place of my heart, making me feel an enormous weight which crushed me. But in spite of this, I could not wake up. Ah, how many things I would have wanted to tell him, but my sleep prevented me. Then, after much hardship between vigil and sleep, I saw that my good Jesus was suffering very much, so much that he was almost suffocating among pains, and I said to him, "My love, you suffer very much, to the point of suffocating. And then, you want me to sleep? Why don't you let me suffer together with you? And if you want me to sleep, why don't you sleep together with me?" And Jesus, all afflicted, told me, "My daughter, the offenses which they give me are so many that I feel drowned with pains, and if I wanted to share them with you, you could not have resisted and remain alive. Don't you feel the weight that they give me, to the point of crushing me, a weight which, since I am within you, I inevitably share with you? And if I wanted to sleep together with you, my justice would pour out freely against man, and the world would roll about." And as he was saying this, Jesus closed his eyes, and it seemed that the world would roll around and that all created things would go out of the order of creation. The water, the earth, the mountains, etc., were in turmoil among themselves and became homicidal and noxious for man. Who can say the great troubles which occurred? Taken by fright, I cried out, "Jesus, open your eyes, do not sleep. Don't you see how all things are messed up and throw themselves into disorder?" And Jesus, again, "Have you seen, my daughter? I cannot sleep, by just closing my eyes, if you knew how many evils occurred. For you it is necessary to sleep, that I may not see you succumb completely. However, know that I place you in the center of my will, so that your sleep too may be an embankment for my justice, which, justly, wants to pour out against man." April 11, 1924. In the state of the world, which is threatened not only by chastisements but by destruction, the state of Luisa is a great embankment, even when she is sleeping. Jesus does not like forced things, otherwise he moves on, just as he did when he was born in Bethlehem. I continue to feel dazed and sleepy. My powers no longer understand anything, and if I understand anything at all in a moment of break, of vigil, then I feel a shadow around me, which, concealing me completely, down to my most intimate fibers, makes me long and yearn for the holy will of God. Oh, how I fear that I might leave his most holy will. Now, upset as I was by the chastisements which Jesus had talked to me about and by the sight of the turmoil of created things, I also heard from some people of the great evils that occurred during these last days in several parts of the world, up to the destruction of entire regions. But as I heard this, my Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, this is nothing yet. We will go further in purifying the face of the earth. I am so disgusted in looking at it, that I cannot bear its sight." I remained oppressed more than ever, and the horrible picture of the turmoil of nature, which I had seen in the past days, became alive before my mind. Then, going back to prayer according to my usual way, I said to my adorable Jesus, "Since you are determined to use chastisements and I can no longer do anything, either suffer, or let people be spared from the troubles they deserve, you could free me from this state of victim, or suspend me for some time. I would at least spare others from the bother. And Jesus, my daughter, I do not want to displease you. If you want me to suspend you, I will do it. And I, fearing that I might do my will, immediately added, No, no, my love, you should not say to me, if you want, rather, you should say, I am the one who wants to suspend you from this state. It should not come from my will, but from yours, then I would accept. So, not to make me content, but to allow your will to be done in me. And Jesus again, I do not want to displease you, I want to make you content. If you want me to suspend you, I will do it. However, know that justice wants to follow its course, and you and I must surrender in part. There are certain rights of justice which one cannot do without, but since I placed you in the center of my will, in this state of victim, even though you should now sleep, now suffer, now pray, it is always an embankment for my justice, in order to prevent the course of the almost total destruction of things. In fact, this is not only about chastisements, but about destruction. However, know that I do not want to force you. I have never liked force, so much so, that when I came upon earth and I wanted to go and be born in Bethlehem, I went, yes, knocking at door after door to have a place in which to be born, but I did not force anyone. If I wanted, with my power, I would have used force to obtain a place less uncomfortable in which to be born, but I did not want to do so. I contented myself with knocking and asking for shelter, and without insisting, I moved on to knock at other doors. And since no one wanted to receive me, I was content with going to be born in a cave, in which animals gave me free access and did their first adorations to their Creator, instead of forcing anyone to let me enter. However, this refusal cost very much to the people of Bethlehem, because they never again received the good of my soul's treading their lands, or of seeing me in their midst again. I like spontaneous things, not forced. I like that the soul make all that I want her own, as though it were hers and not mine, and that freely, with love, she give me what I want. Force is for slaves, for servants, and for those who do not love. This is why I move on from those souls, just as I did with the people of Bethlehem, who were not ready to let me enter into them and to give me full freedom to do whatever I wanted with them. On hearing this, I said, My love, Jesus, no, I do not want to be forced, but, freely, I want to remain in this state, even at the cost of mortal pains. And you, never leave me, and give the grace to always do your most holy will. April 23, 1924. The state of profound sleep of Luisa continues. Together with Jesus, she suffers the crushing weight of the world. It is not the devil who is throwing her into this state, but Jesus. What Jesus infuses and what the devil infuses. I spend my days in bitterness and among the privations of my sweet Jesus, with the addition of a profound sleep, such that I myself do not know where I am or what I do. I feel the shadow of my Jesus around me, which almost puts me into an iron shirt which renders me motionless. It takes life away from me and dazes me, and I no longer understand anything. What a painful change in my interior, I, who did not know what sleep was, and even if a light sleep surprised me, even while sleeping, did not lose the activity of my interior. I was aware of the fibers of my heart and of my thoughts in order to give them back to Jesus who so much loved me, to accompany him in all the hours and pains of his passion. Or I wandered within the immensity of his will, to give him back everything and the acts which he wanted from all creatures. And now, everything is over. My Jesus, what bitter pains. What a sorrowful sea you want my poor soul to navigate. Oh please, give me strength, do not leave me, do not abandon me. Remember that you yourself said that I am little, or rather, the littlest of all, just newborn. And if you leave me, if you do not help me, if you no longer give me strength, the newborn will certainly die. Now, while I was in this state, I thought to myself, who knows whether it is devil to form this shadow and to put me in this state of immobility? But as I was thinking of this, I felt crushed more than ever under an enormous weight. And my adorable Jesus, moving in my interior, showed himself placing the edge of a wheel upon me, which he was carrying, and, afflicted, said to me, My daughter, patience, this is the weight of the world which crushes us. Yet, one single edge leaning on you serves me in order not to put an end to the whole world. Ah, if you knew how many deceits, how many frauds, how many evils they commit, and how many hidden machinations of ruin the creatures are plotting, to be ruined more among themselves, which increase even more the weight upon my shoulders, to the point of making divine justice overflow. This is why there will be great evils through the whole earth. And then, why do you fear that it might be the enemy to put you in this state? When the enemy makes one suffer, he throws desperation, impatience, disturbances. On the other hand, when it is me, I infuse love, patience and peace, light and truth. Do you perhaps feel impatient, desperate, that you fear that it might be the enemy? And I? No, my Jesus, on the contrary, I feel as though plunged into an immense and deep sea, your will, and my only fear is that I might get out of the abyss of this sea. But while I fear, I feel its waves rising higher upon me, such as to make me sink even more. And Jesus, and this is why the enemy cannot approach you, because the waves of the sea of my will, while plunging you into the abyss of it, keep on guard and keep far away even the shadow of the enemy. In fact, he knows nothing of all that the soul does and suffers in my will, nor does he have the means, the ways and the doors to be able to enter into it. On the contrary, it is the thing which he abhors the most. And if sometimes my wisdom manifests something of what the soul does in my will, the enemy feels such rage as to feel his infernal pains being multiplied, because my will, loved and fulfilled in the soul, forms paradise, while, not loved and not fulfilled, it forms hell. Therefore, if you want to be safe from any diabolical snare, take to heart my will and you're living continuously in it.